That was pretty much my face throughout watching this whole movie. This movie is definitely a spectacle. What is going on, everybody? It is your boy, a comic book novice, aka Contra Lad, aka Johnny B. Hood, and I just watched Love and Thunder for the first time, and mixed feelings is what I got about the movie. It's definitely not what I expected. Definitely not what I expected. To start off, like, is it just me, or was everybody's acting at the beginning of the movie just kind of like bad? Just something about the beginning of this movie, like, it kind of threw me off. Like, it was such a different tone than I was expecting, like, right away off the beginning. Um, I liked how we saw the Guardians of the Galaxy in there, because I was wondering, I was like, well, he leaves with them at the end of Endgame, but I hadn't really heard nobody talking about them, so I was like, all right, maybe they're just in a little bit of it. And it was like they were only really in the beginning, but it was like Chris Pratt and Chris Hemsworth, like, rapport with each other, like, it's freaking hilarious. So, like, they killed that part, like the part where Thor's just like trying to like peek into the frame when Star Lord was just talking about the Guardians and how he loves them and shit. That was pretty hilarious. But like the first half hour was like kind of a trudge. Like I'm pretty sure I paused it and like did something else for a minute. Like after the first half hour, I was like, all right, if that's what this movie's gonna be, I need a break. But I have such a love-hate relationship with the Thor movies to begin with. Like, Thor 1 was just like, it was good. Like, it was a good movie. Like, that's all I can really say about it. Like, I wouldn't say is the greatest movie, and I wouldn't say it was a terrible movie. It was a good movie. Dark World was, bruh, don't even get me started. Dark World was fucking 2 thumbs down for me. It was just too, like, there was good parts about it. Like, the ending was good. But yeah, like the whole Dark Elves thing, like, allow me. Ragnarok, damn near perfect. Like, that's one of my top 5 movies in the MCU. And I think that the reason that is because Thor, like, there's such a balance, like, between, like, because Chris Hemsworth can do comedy and he can do action, and Ragnarok, I feel like, found the balance between both of those worlds and really stepped on the gas. Like, that's what I think it is. And this movie, it just seemed like it was trying to lean too much towards the comedy side of that spectrum, and I don't know, I just wanted something like Ragnarok, something right in the middle. Like, it gets to a point where it does get there, but Ragnarok, like, the whole movie was like that. This one, like, is kind of like skewed one way or another the whole movie until like towards the climax. I like how it started with Taika Korg narrating, like, what's been going on in Thor's life and everything. I did like that. Like, he does that a few times in the movie, and I digged all of those. And seeing the beginning with Christian Bale and like how he goes and his daughter dies, and he ends up finding the god that they were praying to, and the god is just laughing at him, and like, imagine, like, I've yet to read Jason Aaron's Thor, but I hear it's still something along those lines, like Gore's backstory, I mean. And imagine that, bro. Like, imagine that happening to you. Like, who could say that they would react in any other way? It is wild to, but in the very beginning of the movie, like the first half hour, like Christian Bale was really like the shining light. He was really like what kept me wanting to watch the movie, because I was like, all right, kind of allow me on all this like preamble in the beginning, but like Christian Bale's character got me wanting to see what the hell, how this guy goes about doing what he's trying to do. And yeah, it was that part was great. I like how we finally got to see Sif again. Arm gets cut off, and she's like, "I'll just go to Valhalla now." And Thor's like, "Hey, like you gotta die in the battle to go to Valhalla. Like your arm might be in Valhalla." Like that cracked me up. But as we kept going through the movie, it kept getting better and better and better. I thought like once they got to Omnipotent City, it started to get good. Like Russell Crowe popping up, like I didn't even know he's in this movie. I was like, what the hell? Like that was pretty cool. And when he when Thor comes to talk to him and he flicks his clothes off and all the girls faint, and like even the guards like they like, get a little wobbly. That shit was hilarious. I thought that was so funny. And then like Zeus is like, we're not about that life, really. Just stay here. And Thor's like, nah, fuck that, dog. I'm going after this dude. And like we like the action in the Thor movies has never been the problem. Like the fights has never been the problem. All the fights are really dope. It's just like the parts that happen between the fights is what really like loses some people sometimes. And like this movie in the first half was no different. Like I was sitting there thinking, I was like, the fights are like the only good thing about this movie so far. But like I said, it does get better by the end. A reoccurring theme that comes, like two reoccurring themes that come through the movie are the goats. Like hear those fucking goats scream like was so funny like throughout the, even like at the random like serious times where like you think it would just like interrupt the story or the flow. It really didn't for me. I thought it was funny as hell every time. And along that same vein, the jealous Stormbreaker, that was pretty damn funny the whole time too. Like there's a part where like towards the beginning where Thor sees Jane with Mjolnir and he like tries to call it, and then like Stormbreaker like creeps into the frame like, the hell you doing? That cracked me up. But like the whole like the whole Mighty Thor, Jane is Thor thing, I was really digging. Like I said in my last video, that if the movie's anything like those comics, the Mighty Thor, Jane Foster Thor comic books that I am reading right now, if it's anything like this, I'm gonna like the movie. So, and it was pretty like, it was like the story is not the same at all, like because these are not based, like this movie's not based on those or anything, but like the vibe like with her as Thor was still the same. Like you're just like, damn, she be whooping motherfuckers asses. And the whole like subplot of her having cancer and then finding out at the end that the Thor is actually killing her faster was wild. Like I know I'm all over the place with this review, but like this is just how the thoughts are popping into my head. When we see Zeus and he's talking to all the gods and like he cracks a joke, and you see Dionysus. Like I didn't know who he was at first. Like I had to rewind it because I heard him say, "Good one, Dad," and I was like, "Who the hell is that supposed to be?" And I was like, because Hermes, Dionysus, Ares, Hercules, Athena, like they're all Zeus's kids, and so I had to see who it was by pausing. You could see like him wearing the grape crown, so I was like, "Oh, it's gotta be Dionysus." But that was pretty funny. And I was like looking around all like the people by him. I was hoping to see like Hercules or something. Little did I know, we'll get there. It like I liked that whole scene. It was pretty cool. And then like you see Zeus and he's like doing the tricks with the thunderbolt and shit. I thought that was dope. But then he gets got by that very same thunderbolt with a Thor throw. That was pretty sick. Um, I was bummed at first. I thought Russell Crowe was actually dead. I was like, no. So I hope we get to see him come back in some like form, like in a small little bits. Like I'd like to see, because now that we know we're getting Hercules, like I'm sure we'll see some more of the like gods type deal coming in, like the Greek gods and everything. That would be cool. So in the beginning of the movie, when we hear the voice coming from the necro sword, and it says like, if you want revenge, go to eternity and stuff. And like when I first heard that, I was like, oh shit, like we gonna see this motherfucker, like, because if you remember in Guardians of the Galaxy Les Deux, when Ego like touches Star Lord's third eye, he like looks up and he's got the starry eyes, and he's like, I see eternity. I was like, is that the eternity, like the celestial uh, guy that Star Lord was talking about before? Or is this just some, like, the way that they're doing it, are they just like, is eternity just a place? And so when we get the reveal of what eternity actually is, like Valkyrie tells us, like eternity is a being that will grant the wish of the first person that gets there. So like we learn, Gore wants to use the wish to kill all the gods. We gotta stop him. Um, it was sick, man. Like when we finally got there and we saw what eternity was, I just was thinking, is that what Star Lord saw? Like, and if so, why didn't he try to go find it so he could get the wish? He could have brought his mom back, right? But maybe when he saw it, he just maybe saw, like, maybe he didn't see the body, like how we see eternity when we get there. Maybe he just saw, like, you know. But yeah, once we get to eternity and we see Gore about to use the wish, and then Thor gives him the line, like the cheesiest, like, I almost feel like, I don't want to call it a cop out, but like it just seems like if there's no other like logical way to turn somebody or to teach somebody something, it always comes back to do it for love. Like, do it. Like, I was like, what is this, Harry Potter? Fucking love defeats all? Like, I mean, sure, love is a powerful. I'm like, well, let's not get into what love is right now. Yeah, we don't got to get into all that right now, but when it comes to storytelling, I just think that's like the easy answer. Like, everything can be done for love. That's the reason behind everything. I heard somebody say one time that there's only really like 5 stories. I'm gonna have to look up what those actually are, because it seems like that would be a good thing to know. And like this seems like it's just one of those 5 stories. Like it's just like one of the things everything boils down to. But I mean, it was cool how seeing him use the wish to bring his daughter back to life, which, like, why wasn't that just your first thought, dude? Like, nah, Gorg woke up and chose violence every day after his daughter died, but he never thought, like, oh, maybe I should bring my daughter back to life instead of killing all the gods, until Thor plopped the idea right in front of him, like, and he was like, oh shit, why didn't I think of that? But yeah, once we see, and then Gore dies, and then that leaves me to think, like, well, I mean, he probably wasn't gonna be coming back in the first place, but like, I wish Christian Bale would be in more movies in the MCU, even though he says he didn't know what the MCU was before he got into this movie. And I just want to call a little bit of bullshit on that. Like, come on, Scorsese, I'm not believing it. Like, the actors and directors and shit that like to shit on the MCU and say that they're not real stories or not real cinema, whatever you want to call it. Like, dude, allow me. These movies, like, you think that, like,
over fucking, what are we at, like 30 movies at this point? You think they could have, I'm saying we, like I'm in it, but that's how much I ride for this shit, bro. You think he could have survived this long if it wasn't like an epic form of storytelling and cinema that we have yet to see on this scale before? Like, you usually got it, like like you got to read for years and years, and uh like when it comes to like storytelling like this, like for how long it's lasted, like this is like books and like comic books and shit, like you got to read for so long, like, and that survives because it's good, people connect to it and everything, and making the movies about that material, like it's the same thing, it's bringing literature to life. That's the way I see it, at least. um but yeah, I digress. We see Gore die, and his daughter comes back to life, and and Thor's like, I'll take care of your daughter, and which is really his daughter in real life. I found out that the little girl that plays Gore's daughter is actually Chris Hemsworth's real life daughter, and his wife actually cameos in this movie as well. She's the wolf chick that he is hooking up with on the back of the giant wolf. Uh, I saw those in the credits. I was like, what the hell? How many Hemsworths were in this movie? Um, but yeah. Once we see he's like taking over as like the surrogate father, she calls him Uncle Thor, and I was like, oh, but like like I wonder, like, so like, are we gonna see her more? We're gonna probably see her a more going forward. That'll be cool. Like, especially if Chris Hemsworth, like, if I forgot her name, but his daughter, if she can actually like keep that part and like keep going, I would love that. That would be sick. Um, his son's actually in the. He's one of the, Chris Hemsworth's son is actually one of the kids that gets nabbed by Gore too. He's in the cage and everything. Another thing I liked was Axel, like the fact that he's Heimdall's son and he's got the eyes too, and Thor teaches him how to use them. Like, that was pretty sick. I like that. Just seemed like we were getting a lot of callbacks and a lot of cameos in this one by like characters who, like, if you weren't looking, you'd miss, but are probably gonna affect the story in some way. Um, so I guess the last thing I want to talk about is the post credit scenes. Um, Granted, I don't know much about Hercules in the Marvel context because, like, novice. But I know he's like, after doing a little bit of research, I know that he's like seemed to be like he's on Thor's level with when it comes to power, and like he's supposed to be like his rival kind of in the comics, and then like he joins the Avengers. Like, I know he comes in Civil War at some point. Um, so like, yeah, I'm really uh hype. I'm really hyped to see what, like, once we get the pull on that thread, like where that goes. Like, is Hercules gonna eventually become like Chris Hemsworth's replacement? Like, once he's wanting to make his ride off into the sunset with Chris Evans and Robert Downey. Like, who knows? Like, maybe instead of Thor, we get Hercules from now on going forward. Because I thought the whole plan of this movie, I thought, was to establish Natalie Portman as Thor and have her like being in the Avengers going forward. Like, that's what I thought this whole movie was fucking coming down to. Turns out that's not what it was. She dies and she goes to Valhalla. But like, we see her and Heimdall in Valhalla at the end, and which makes me think, like, are we gonna see them again? Like, is Valhalla gonna, like, are we gonna go? Because like, we've seen so many different realms so far, like the quantum realm, Valhalla, fucking, I forget what it's called, but where T'Challa goes after he eats the heart shaped herb. And like a couple others that I'm probably just forgetting. Shadow Realm. Uh, like I gotta think that like something's gonna happen to where like we either go there, like to those places, or people can come back. Cause like we've seen Janet Van Dyne come back from the quantum realm. So like, if they're along the same lines, why cannot somebody return from Valhalla? I don't know. We'll see. It's just thoughts I got bouncing around up there. So like I gotta think that going forward, once Chris Hemsworth is done, it's gonna be left to Gore's daughter or Hercules, or maybe Natalie Portman comes back in some capacity. Like maybe those are the three options I see going forward. Because in order for the team structure to work, I think when it comes to the Avengers, there's always going to have to be an equivalent for every character that we started with. Or at least I think that they'll probably always have an equivalent to each character that we started with going forward. Like Ironheart will eventually become the new Iron Man, like Tony. We got Sam as Cap. We got Kate Bishop getting in there for Hawkeye / Black Widow. Hulk is still kicking around, but we got She-Hulk in the mix as well. And Thor. Thor's still kicking around in it. Wait, I'm missing. No, because I put in 2 in 1 with Hawkeye and Black Widow. And Thor. So like I gotta like I'm scouting ahead. Like I'm wondering like who's gonna be his replacement. Because then, despite the love they might have for these movies, like they like you gotta think, because like Chris Evans and Robert Downey already got the fuck out. Chris Hemsworth has been doing this shit just as long as they were. You gotta think that maybe at some point he's cooking up an exit strategy for himself. But you know, who knows? But yeah, those are my thoughts. If I had to give it a grade, I would give it like a 7.5 out of 10. It started off kind of whack to me, picked up as it got going, and the ending was great, I thought. And the things we got out of this movie, like Hercules and then Gore's daughter and seeing Val and everything, were really made up for the slow beginning for me. So, comic book novice grade, Thor: Love and Thunder, 7.5 out of 10. But that's it for me, y'all. Check back tomorrow. I'll be back with another video. Go watch the one that I released yesterday, depending on when this comes out. Yesterday or 2 days ago. One of the two. And I'm out of here. Hit that like button. I really appreciate it. It helps me out. Subscribe. And I'll see y'all later.